out here on a mowing job. We don't do a lot of this, but we do large acreage mowing. This is a common area for a HOA. It's 4 acres. It goes way back there. You'll see it. It's kind of hilly terrain. It's kind of cool. It's just like this big kind of like a meadow with some trees and stuff. We just go around them. But yeah, got the brush cutter on. The only thing I use this for is for mowing. It's just a standard duty brush cutter, but it does a really good job of this. And we've actually come out here before, and this was like 5 feet tall. I'm just at the mercy of when they want this mowed, because they have to come up with their own budget plan and all that stuff with the HOA. It's politics and everything, but it should look really good today, because as you can see, it's not super tall, but I have come out here where it's at eye level with the camera right now, which is kind of crazy, but it is what it is. We get it mowed down anyways. The more often we mow it, the better it looks. But I think it should look pretty good. We get the GoPro set up inside the cab, and then certain areas, I've got the tripod with me. I'm gonna stick it out and get some different angles and stuff. But it's the first time I've ever videoed this job. Figured maybe you guys would like to see it. It's not super exciting. Like I said, it's just mowing grass. I'm probably gonna be speeding up the whole rest of this video. Do kind of like a time-lapse thing. But yep, so we get rolling.
want your dough, I'll go. Now tell me, baby, what you think of me. Well, now tell me, baby, what you think of me. You ain't been giving me no rest since I've been in Nashville, Tennessee. One more verse and I ain't gonna sing no more. I'm gonna sing one more verse and I ain't gonna sing no more. 'Cause my train is here and you know I gotta go.
Well, that's a wrap. Sometimes whenever I mow this, it'll look like the whole entire deck is crawling because there's so many bugs. Hasn't happened yet, but I planned on putting a tripod up, like I said, and get some exterior shots, but the problem is I move around so much and so quickly. You know, I'll start all the way up there and mow down here and go around there, back, and just kind of make loops is the quickest way to mow this down. But I don't know, we'll see how this video turns out. Hopefully hopefully you guys like it. But we're all done. This doesn't need to be anything spectacular, you know. We're not mowing it with a zero turn or a finish mower. It's just a natural area for this HOA. In the back where you saw those big humps, those rollers, it's really hard to get those things looking perfect at all with, you know, the arms go up and down, so that adjusts kind of the height, and then also tilting the angle. You got to go, there's just a lot going on, and the whole machine moving up and down and all that. So I actually thought about welding a bracket and some casters on the sides of that, so it could just kind of because if you go over a dip and the front of this tips down, the blades will just jab into the ground and hit you know, a high spot or something. So it'd be nice if there was like a caster. If I just lay it down with the sleds, the skis on the ground, it'll just scalp the whole thing, and not what we're looking for. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna get loaded up. I think this whole thing it's the first time I've cut it this year. So it's been probably 6 or so months since I've been out here, but I think it took me about an hour and a half. I started at 140 and now it's 3. But it usually takes me about an hour, also depending on the size of everything. But yep, that's it. I'm gonna get loaded up and go grab something to eat because it is lunchtime. I bet the horses would love this place.